Right.
The best thing to do.
Make it full screen, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's PDF that doesn't show anything.
No. That'll do. It doesn't yet. Yep, that's fine.
Do you mind, Tom?
I think, yeah. Can everyone hear me? Yes. Okay. Yeah. So welcome to day 2. I'm just going to give a brief overview of yesterday, in case for those of you who weren't here, that will tell you what was said, and for those of you who were here, you can hopefully it'll help you remember. The slides are not exciting; they're mostly just bullets to remind me what I was going to say. So yesterday we had a set of talks about what Bayes 2 is about and about what's been achieved in Bayes 1. So just some of the points that came out were that there are a plethora of different AI and machine learning techniques and tools, and probably too many, and that they're growing very quickly. So actually, part of the idea behind Bayes is to help the communities in general navigate their way through these. This meeting is really important because it's an attempt to start engaging with the community so that you can have involvement, because we need to define, we can't do everything. So we need to work out, given that we can't do everything, what are the things that would be most useful to the various communities in the UK. Jayan pointed out, he emphasized the point that benchmarking, so the B in Bayes 1 was benchmarking, the B in Bayes 2 is blueprinting. And that was kind of to emphasize the shift that we're not just focused on benchmarking now. This is about providing blueprints for various different AI and machine learning activities like surrogate models and things like that. The other key point that came out was that exascale is not just about doing bigger calculations. So doing calculations that are 1,000 times bigger is obviously one of the things you can do with exascale compared to petascale, but also doing the same calculations 1,000 times faster, allowing you to maybe do 1,000 times as many simulations. So the velocity side of things is also key. So in terms of the individual work packages, and I meant to double check that I've got the names of the work packages right. So if I haven't, the numbers are correct. So benchmarking is the first one still. And the focus there, it's continuing the work that was done within Bayes 1, but now focusing on scalability. So moving up to more multi-GPU benchmarks. The other thing that was emphasized by a number of people was that data is exascale as well as compute. And so what that means is we need benchmarks for the kind of data and storage as well as for the compute side of things. In terms of hardware and software co-design, obviously the goal there is to look at how new hardware and new software tools work together to deliver more in terms of our productivity. And to do that, one of the ways, a useful approach is a unit testing mentality that you would use in code development, but to basically do that alongside the development of the services. So you're developing the service, the hardware and software alongside each other. Obviously, the important thing is that whatever is deployed is what is needed by the different communities. So this bit of turning user stories into hardware and software requirements is absolutely vital. It's also going to be hard. It's, various communities like Dirac have done this on a scale of one community or several communities. To do it for all of UKRI or all of UK research is going to be very challenging. But that's where we need to begin the process now of classifying what all the different types of work. So I would argue not based on what the science is that each group is doing, but what the workflows look like. And so there were, Tony gave some examples of classifying of AI algorithms and the different types. So I think he had 10 different types, but that's things we need to be doing more of. Working with industry is absolutely key. So it's great that there are industry people here, and they're still here today. I believe there's some joining us online as well, but the involvement of industry is vital, because we're not working, this co-design is not in isolation. So working with our industry partners to make sure that we're planning for the future and helping inform their decisions as well is really important. But as Jeremy said, it must be measurable and definable. It's not just a vague, let's talk to industry. We need to actually be systematic about it and make sure that we're covering all the areas we need to. On surrogate models, I think the equation that I've written there, I think, is kind of a mixture of what Jeremy and Tony said, that exascale is not going to solve all the problems that we want even now. And so if you add in surrogate models, that's a start in terms of how we can use exascale to do bigger and better things. It's also going to be the route to get to zetascale quicker and usefully, because you can, as you can imagine, by the time we get to zetascale, we'll want to be doing things which are bigger than zetascale. There's a clear convergence of AI and HPC. We're all vaguely aware of that, but that's becoming very obvious with things like the large language models, where the requirements for the training are essentially HPC requirements now. But it's important that those requirements are different for training and for inference, and so that's a key thing we're going to have to factor into the benchmarking. I like the way Jeremy described surrogates, that they could provide nuanced, realistic, updatable subgrid physics models. I think that all three of those adjectives, nuanced, realistic, and updatable, they don't really apply to, yeah, I shouldn't really say that when I'm being recorded. In many fields, that is not how you would describe the subgrid physics models. You would describe them as simplistic, just power law approximations. So those, we really do need nuanced, realistic, updatable subgrid physics in many areas. Tony posed the question, can foundation models also replace simulations? I think, yeah, I think that's something still to be discussed. I think the answer is probably no, but they will certainly feed into building surrogate models. Then lastly was knowledge exchange. Training is a key part of the Bayes 2 program as well in the proposal, and it came out in the discussion yesterday. Training is also, I think everyone agreed that training is a vital part of it. There's a lot of experience across UKRI already in terms of development and delivery of training, and so we should be leveraging, Bayes should be leveraging that to make sure that we maximize the impact. Again, that's an area where industry involvement is important, because like with the planning for the future in terms of hardware and software, we need to be training our students and postdocs for what's coming next, not just training them for what we've already got or what we used to have. So that's something where we can design courses. I think industry partners, the experience within DIRAC is industry partners are very keen to be involved in helping with the training. So I think we'd be pushing at an open door, but I think there are opportunities there for Bayes. Then the second half of yesterday was discussion, and I didn't try to capture everything, but just a few things that jumped out at me either during the discussion or in the evening. The number of tools that are available is a challenge, as I said at the start, and that is something we have to navigate through. The point at the end kind of summarizes that we can't do everything. This was a discussion we had in the bar afterwards. We can't, given that Bayes can't do the whole, every AI technique, we have to focus on something. So what is we've got roughly 18 months, 2 years if you stretch it, to get as much done as we can. So what are the things where we'll get the most value for the investment that we put in? There was an interesting discussion about data quality in the biosciences, and that was just one area, but I'm sure it applies in many others. And that's going to be a challenge. So we can make the data better in the future, but can we make the data that we've got more reliable? I wanted to thank everybody. I presume it was the same, but it seemed to be the same at all the tables. that everybody was getting involved in the discussion. That was really appreciated, because that was the idea of this meeting, was we need input from all the different fields. If there was something that you didn't get to say or that you thought of since, please let Marion or Jayan or myself know, or Paul or Jeremy, because we want to make sure that we continue to capture new things as they come up. So this is not meant to be a one-off opportunity to contribute. And that on that front, it was great that a number of data sets were identified that we can use. So we'll be following up with those of you who suggested data sets. And again, if you come across other ones that you think would be interesting in the future, let us know. The other good thing was there were some new questions that certainly I wasn't thinking of when we wrote the proposal. So I think that's very good, that there are new things coming up. But again, if we come up with a new question or a new topic or a new angle, we do have to then, it has to replace something that's in there, because we can't just keep adding extra questions that we're going to address. But I think two things that were, that jumped out for me were the training and inference, the fact that it's now very clear training and inference have different types of hardware requirements and different scales of hardware requirements, and that we need to factor that in when we're thinking about the systems we build to make sure that we can do both at the appropriate scales. The other interesting thing was the value of blueprints on which type of surrogate models to use, that we need to, people are using surrogate models, but no one has time in any given field to study all the different types of surrogates they could do. So what would be good is if Bayes can produce some indication of, if you have this type of problem, this type of surrogate approach might be, here are two types of surrogate you might want to consider. That would be a useful way to narrow things down. And finally, again, just to emphasize, we want to be ambitious. I think the plans of what we're trying to do are already ambitious, but we can't do everything. So if you after today go away and think, oh, I really think that area is not something we should be focusing on, and we should be focusing on this, do get in touch, and we can discuss it. That's it. Yeah, I'm sure I've missed lots of things. If your contribution or key point wasn't there, I'm sorry.
Thanks very much, Mark.